Emergency pod once again, presented by Xfinity. This is kind of a double emergency pod because not only did the Broncos re-sign Alex Singleton to a 2-year deal worth about $7.5 million a year, they also released Dre Greenlaw, which means that you kind of have your starting linebackers set with Alex Singleton and Justin Strnad. Zach, what's going on here?
Yeah, it was trending this way, and things really came together this afternoon with the Broncos agreeing to a 2-year deal with Alex Singleton worth $15.5 million, $11 million guaranteed. And when they made that decision, they also made the decision to release Dre Greenlaw. That was in reaction to not only signing Alex Singleton, but also re-signing Justin Strnad yesterday. And they absolutely love what Justin and Alex bring. And that these are the Broncos starting linebackers moving forward, guys. Moving on from Dre Greenlaw, it was ended up being a 1-year deal for Dre, and we knew that's exactly what it was going to be, or potentially last year when they signed him to a 3-year deal, but only 1 year was guaranteed. Really quick on Alex Singleton's contract, he gets a raise. He's making almost $8 million per year from $6 million last year, and he gets $11 million guaranteed, which is 71% of his contract. So it's a win for Alex because of the raise and the lot of guarantees that he gets, and it's a win for the Broncos by bringing their captain back at a little bit less of a price than I expected it to be. So kind of wins all around when it comes to Alex.
Yeah, I love this move. I absolutely love it. And I think it's crazy the way that people are talking about it. You're keeping the captain of one of the best defenses in the NFL. I think that if it weren't for like social media hive minds, everyone would have loved this back in the day. But now everyone just gets these ideas in their head based off of something they saw someone else say. And somehow we don't value Alex Singleton anymore. I'm stoked he's back. He's the captain. He's the leader. The two, Alex and Justin, were great last year together. And I don't know why everyone's lost on that, but I'm happy. And of course, I think part of the reaction to this is people expected more and wanted to see the Broncos do more today. So then they're going to be more negative about doing things that, or the Broncos already had. We wanted shiny new toys, which I totally understand. That's always more exciting. But this is a great move, and I think a great deal, especially considering what some of the numbers were out there originally. And really, it's just the raise is equivalent to what Henry's been talking about a lot this offseason, which is, the raise in the cap, the overall salary cap since the last time Alex signed a deal. This is pretty equivalent to that, if not a little under it. So great move.
Henry, you going?
What do you think, Benny? No, you go ahead.
You know what? I think when you bring a captain back, that's always great. Obviously, he's very beloved in Broncos country. I can see where Broncos country, though, also would want something new or want something different. I think what got you to the AFC Championship last year won't necessarily get you back this year or to the Super Bowl. So, Henry on the last emergency pod brought up something that I had no idea. I think you said 9 teams that were the number 1 seed the following year didn't make the playoffs. Now, I'm not saying that the Broncos won't, but I think it's important just to, relay the fact that just because you won 14 games last year doesn't mean that you're going to win 14 games the following year. I think I like a little bit of shakeups on teams. I like adding depth or outside people to bring in competition. When you think about an incredible roster, you always need I think you always need a couple of extra pieces. And, obviously free agency just now getting started, but I thought linebacker was a position of need, consistent, across the board. I think we all thought that linebacker was a position of need, and all you did was bring back everybody. So, you get rid of Greenlaw. He was only there for 1 year. I wish he could have, played more games, and, he was coming off, some pretty bad injuries. So, it was great by George Payton and Sean Payton, signed him only to 1 year to see if he could, actually be what they thought. And, injuries, put a damper on that. But linebacker is still a position of need, and you didn't upgrade the position at all. You brought back, some good pieces, but is it a great piece? You're great at every level of the defense. I would say, besides inside linebacker. So, Don't get me wrong, I like the guys a lot, and I'm sure they're great culture fits. But did you upgrade that position? No. And I think tight end, running back, and receiver are the positions where you want to upgrade.
Certainly didn't upgrade, but what options were there to upgrade?
I'm not sure. I have not looked in depth into the linebacker free agency. All I know is that there is a position of need, or that is a position of need to get better at. But I can't go down and say, hey, here are the names. I haven't done that much research on it, but I know that you're going to have to do it in the draft, or you're going to have to get better.
Yes, that's what I would say. Is you definitely want to look here in the draft now. I've been wanting the Broncos to do that for years and years. And we might be in a different situation right now if they did. But yeah, I think that's the place where now you should definitely be planning to add in the draft.
Yeah, I think that's definitely right. And I think the Broncos have kind of just patched together this linebacker room for I think even back in the day, people glorify the Super Bowl linebackers who were good linebackers, the Danny Trevathan and Brandon Marshall. But I mean, they haven't had a Pro Bowl or an All Pro at linebacker in a very long time, in part because they just don't invest in it. And it does feel like you've got to be getting close to taking a high draft pick and kind of planning for the future a little bit more. But from where they stand now, we kind of agreed coming into this week that the thing that makes the most sense is you keep Alex Singleton. He's your Mike. You've got Justin Strnad, who was splitting time with Dre Greenlaw, and it probably doesn't make sense to keep both of those guys. And now here we are, and they kind of played that out. And I get people want more. It's similar to the Adam Troutman move, where you look at the receivers or the tight ends who were around him in pay and say, like, yeah, that's kind of exactly where he probably falls, is the money he got, because you hear $6.5 million, whatever it is, that doesn't mean what it used to. And when you look through what linebackers are paid right now, and don't forget, like, Cody Barton is a $7 million a year linebacker. A Divine Diablo, $7 million linebacker. A Christian Ellis is under $7 million. Like, those are all guys who are not as good at football as Alex Singleton. Now, when you talk about Alex, is he one of those, like, 4-4 linebackers who's a do-it-all, line him up over? Like, there just aren't many of those who even exist. And that's why, for the money, I really like the deal. Same thing with Justin Strnad. Like, I think he's too good for his $6 million a year, but it just, he hasn't have years of tape. So,
Hank, well, when you think about, I just want to double click on the Danny Trevathan, Brandon Marshall type thing. Danny Trevathan, hard, smash mouth type of linebacker, was incredible in the run game and was really complimentary to that defense. And then Brandon Marshall, at the time, was one of the best cover linebackers. And then you have a Todd Davis who was playing on special teams and then filling in. When I think about a championship linebacking core, like you just named all those guys who are getting around the same money as Alex Singleton, then why not bring in a different element or a different linebacker, maybe at a cheaper price, to bring up different competition? I just don't. I like to change things in and out. I like to bring people in and out, even though they might be doing the same thing. Don't get me wrong, Vance Joseph and the guys up front also make it easier on those types of linebackers. So I think it's more of a competition thing than just like, let's bring back something that's familiar. I think sometimes you just need to change things up.
Yeah, and to me, I like the deal for the money. It's similar to like the J.K. Dobbins deal, where it's like, for the low level contract, makes sense. The thing is, you can make those good deals for like value amounts of money, but eventually, like, you do need to use the savings that you're making from those positions to go make a deal somewhere else. And I think that's kind of what we're waiting for. So, like, when you hear it's not ETN, you're not paying ETN, you're not paying Kenneth Walker, and kind of go through that whole list, you say, like, well, maybe you do pay Devin Lloyd. Like, maybe you're now in the market for that. So my take is, I like the move. I like the decision to pair those two up. I think for what you're paying, you're going to get more production than that. But I am curious, At some point, you got to do something that makes you feel better about a position instead of just running it back.
I don't think so, guys. I mean, what are we doing? What are we talking about? We're talking about one of the best defenses in the NFL last year, and both Alex missed one game, and Justin stepped in and was a full-time starter when Dre Greenlaw didn't play for half the season. And these guys are really good, and I think these guys also complement each other extremely well. It's kind of like JK and RJ; those guys complement each other extremely well. I don't think there's much overlap in a good way with Alex and Justin. Justin's one of the best blitzing linebackers in the NFL. 4.5 sacks last year. Are you kidding me? From an inside linebacker that started half the games. That's fantastic. And then Alex Singleton, he is your captain. He is your signal caller. He is your heart and soul of the defense. I talked about it last week. I did not think they were going to let Alex Singleton leave because Vance Joseph loves him and Sean Payton loves him. The locker room loves him, and he's a good player. And if you want to point at coverage, then you don't know what you're talking about, because Alex Singleton is rarely asked to cover in the NFL. Sure, is he asked occasionally? Yes, but as much as people think, absolutely not. Get out of here. Alex Singleton is the heart and soul of this defense. He's the brains of the defense, and he is supposed to be great in the run game and make tackles. You know what he does? He's great in the red game, and he makes a ton of tackles year in and year out, coming off his best season, arguably. Now, can the Broncos now get better with depth? Yes. And I think this is a year that the Broncos actually do go in the draft for a linebacker, maybe on day 2 in the draft. And would you see the future of this room set up? Alex is on a 2-year deal. Justin's on a 3-year deal with 2 years guaranteed. It makes sense to now go get a guy and have him develop into, let's say a Justin Strnad, who had developed perfectly from a 5th-round pick. So get out of here with this negativity in the chat here. I don't think it was a position of need. Certainly now, moving on from Dre, I think you can say like they need depth right now, because Justin was one of the best backup inside linebackers last year, and now he's going to be asked to start. So certainly you do lose some depth.
What's
with
the
all
negativity in the chat? I can't see it.
Oh, you don't want to see it.
They're going crazy.
But it is.
You might want to look back later.
It is brutal. My voice is killing me, and I had to push
Are
that
they
because
crashing out?
it's absolutely terrible. Massive crash outs, Penny. And one more thing really quick.
I'm with you. I'm crashing out too.
Yeah, I know you are. That's why
I'm crashing out.
Rant again.
I want to take the next step. Go ahead.
Really quick, just by moving on from Dre Greenlaw, the Broncos do have $4 million in dead cap, and they do save $6 million right there. So Broncos are going to be cheaper in the inside linebacker room this year than they were last year, if you want to take value in there.
And they save another $2.5 million next year too. So I mean, you would have paid him $8.5 million in cash this year, and that's what you're saving over the next 2 years. So you're really saving money.
With the contracts that have the 3 deals that have gone down today, how much cap space is left?
We don't know, because the contracts don't actually, we don't see the full details until 24, 48 hours after. So my guess, and we still don't know JK's deal, guessing that's around 4, probably a cap of 2. They're probably just under, with getting Dre back, they're probably around 20 million right now.
Even after their deals?
I believe so. Yep. Because of the moving on from Dre and restructuring Quinn yesterday. So I think right around 20. We'll know more in a couple of days.
It's going to be interesting. I mean, when you look at the upcoming opponents and offenses that you're going to play, I think you have to upgrade this defense. Just because you were the number 1 defense last year or top 3 defense last year does not mean that's carrying over. You're playing the first place schedule. So, this is going to be a hard upcoming year, and the Broncos aren't sneaking up on anybody.
Yeah, and I don't even need an upgrade on the defense. I just need an upgrade somewhere. Like, you got to sell me on somewhere where you're better. Because, I mean, you had the number 2 run defense in the NFL last year. That is all coming back. Because as good as JFM was, he's a pass rusher. They were picking and choosing his snaps. You're still going to have Innie in there. You're still going to have Malcolm. I think that run defense is going to be fine. The pass defense, you lose JFM, you're going to feel that. And then offensively, you bring back JK, which is great for the games that he plays. But again, you just haven't. I need to be able to look back on this offseason and say, sure, we accept you're not always going to get better anywhere or everywhere. You're going to get worse at some spots, most likely. But you got to sell me on just a couple of places where I can look back and say, on paper, you are better here in 2026 than you are in 2025. There's still time to do that.
I'm with you. I'm 100% with you on that. I'd like to see the Broncos make a big move, but that's not. It has nothing to do with bringing back Alex Singleton.
Right. I think at linebacker, you did what I think maybe we all except for Benny would have done, which is you bring back Singleton because again, number 2 run defense in the NFL last year, and look at what they did against the Patriots at the end when you knew there was no offense. Like I like it. I hope the next one of these is one where people aren't reasonably. I would say like if you're mad in the chat, I don't think you're crazy for being mad. I just think that sometimes it takes patience. And I just really hope this next emergency pod we have is where you get to say, okay, here's the Broncos getting better.
I want to put it out there that it's not an Alex Singleton thing or a linebacker thing, but I felt like on the roster, you have to shake some things up because you are one game away, or you were one game away from the Super Bowl. So I think it's also a message to your locker room that we're not complacent about where we were last year. And like, we know we can't just run it back with the same roster. That's what it signals to me. It's like, oh yeah, like we're about to shake some things up. We're about to compete more. We're going to add a player here, or add a player there. Hank, to your point, or to your, to your point, doesn't have to necessarily be at the linebacker room, but maybe it's the receiver room. Like, hey, we're here to let everybody know you should not be comfortable at all with the result.
100%. I do want to point something out and just kind of remind everyone, because the Broncos have not been in this position in terms of the number 1 seed, the best record in the NFL, a season coming off of that since we've been doing this show. And it's been a decade since the Broncos have been coming off that type of season. And so just a reminder and a refresher of where other teams are that were in a similar position to the Broncos. The New England Patriots, I don't think they've made multiple big splashes today. They also had the same record as the Broncos last year. The Jacksonville Jaguars, they have not made big moves. In fact, they might be trading. They lost ETN, and they might be trading Brian Robinson Jr., which we'll talk about, or Brian Thomas Jr. The Houston Texans have not made big moves. And the Buffalo Bills had traded for DJ Moore. We talked about that, but those are all the playoff teams in the AFC. No big moves there in the AFC. You look at the NFC, the Seattle Seahawks have lost guys instead of getting guys. They were obviously the number 1 seed in the NFC. The Bears, to their credit, have made some moves. They were also an 11-win team last year. The Eagles haven't made big outside moves. The Panthers, they were 8-9, so don't really need to count them. And that's pretty much the NFC as well. So, like, when you get to this spot of where the Broncos have been, you do not get big move after big move after big move. I know we've been spoiled in free agency the past 10 years because the Broncos have been bad and have had a lot of money and had to go make splashes. That's just not the reality of what good teams do year in and year out. What good teams do year in and year out is they sign their own guys to extensions in August, just like this Denver Broncos team did. If you wanted them to wait and sign.
Zach, I would push back on that. What about Philadelphia? What about the Rams? Year in and year out, those guys make trades. They trade away draft picks. So I would just push back on that.
There's two. Those are two teams. We know that the Rams are all about F the picks. So they're always going to be making the trades. That's one of 32 teams that operates.
I'm throwing that out there. Also, a team that didn't make the playoffs last year that I believe will make the playoffs this year. That Hank pointed out to me earlier. That's a stacked roster that has a new coach staff. Just traded for Max Crosby. That's in the division. Bills have made a move in terms of getting Josh Allen a playmaker. That's somebody that he desperately needed and would have needed against the Broncos this year. So that's now in the division. So, I just think about things like that. I'm not saying, look, I agree with your points. I think there are just also some other points in terms of teams, sticking around. And I also think about some of the incredible teams. When you think back to those New England years, they would always do something a little weird, like a trade for Randy Moss or something like that, make people uncomfortable in that building. I believe in competition, and Bill Belichick would find some of these older players. Chad Ochocinco didn't work out. I wish it would have, because he was one of my favorite receivers, but he would always try to find those types of players. And I'm saying the Broncos hopefully do that over the next couple of weeks. Probably not today, but you think about just finding competition everywhere.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and I think we should lie somewhere in between. The Broncos are not going to make a bunch of splashes. We always knew that. We also think that they can do better than just the status quo. And so it's early. Like, you know, this is the first day of the offseason. People are saying this is a terrible offseason. We're in day one of the offseason. How you can't decide that yet. We'll see if they shake it up. We'll see what they do to upgrade the roster. We'll see what they could do in the draft. They could trade up in the draft and get a great player. Like, we don't know what's going to happen yet. So I understand overall disappointment that some of the guys that we've been talking about for the last few weeks are off the board and they didn't end up being Broncos. But I also think that panicking, crashing out, saying fire George Payton, saying the Broncos are going to miss the playoffs, all of that is completely asinine at this point when we don't even have the full picture yet.
Absolutely. And again, that's what it comes down to for me is like, have they done anything to excite me? I mean, I'm not fired up over here saying like, oh, this is the year. I still need them to give me something where I can say you are better at this position than you were before. But when you look at all the deals, I mean, this is kind of what we thought would happen and probably thought should happen. Again, Cody Barton's getting $7 million a year. We watched him play football in Denver at the same time Alex Singleton was playing football. And you can't tell me that those are like similar players. Like Divine Diablo with the Falcons, $7 million. Like those are the kinds of guys who are in this tier. It's a good value. And again, if you don't want the Broncos shopping for value right now and you want to get splash, I get it. Okay, well, bye, Benny. We'll see you in a couple hours, hopefully. But yeah, I mean, it is what it is. Like you got so far every contract the Broncos have made, it seemed like it's a good value. You're getting a good player. I get the lack of excitement, and hopefully there's something exciting that happens. And if not, it is what it is.
I mean, maybe why I'm not freaking out like the chat is and why people are absolutely crushing me is I reported this is exactly what was going to happen a week ago. I said on the show, I have it in writing over at thednvr.com. What I'm hearing heading into free agency, my second headline or second biggest bullet point was run it back. That's what the Broncos are going to do. That's what I'm hearing inside the building. So I've just accepted this for a week, and maybe in a week, that's how people will be feeling after they've accepted it for a week. It does not mean that another move isn't going to be made. This is still so early in the process right now. The Broncos still have $20 million of cap space, and if you think that Sean Payton is going to sit back and just be fine, absolutely not. If anyone's going to be pushing the lever to get more and more and more, it is Sean Payton there. But I like the moves the Broncos have made. I'm sorry, a lot of people don't.
Yeah, totally. A lot of hate for a team that made us the AFC Championship.
The linebacker in the middle of the number 2 run defense and the entire NFL. I think that's going to do it for this one. Shout out to our friends over at Xfinity. Again, go sign up. It's the best internet you can get. It's only you get the same exact price for 5 years, but they do that for you without an annual contract, so you're not locked in either. There's no hidden fees. You get all their best equipment, and it really is great internet. And not only that, it's intelligent internet. So I'm streaming the Rockies game over there in the other room. Looks like they're now down 12-0 to the White Sox. It's embarrassing, and that's why they power more internet to my computer where we're doing this instead of to that terrible Rockies game going on in the other room. Xfinity's the best. They make all this possible. Lock in your price. Unlock the possibilities with Xfinity. Learn more at Xfinity.com. Xfinity, imagine that. Select plans only. Restrictions apply. I think that's going to do it. Hopefully we get something big and exciting and uniting, which would be nice if there's a move that everybody just loves. But until then, we'll just be hanging out. We'll do an emergency pod again if something happens. If not, we'll see you guys at 11 a.m. tomorrow. One more time, shout to Xfinity for making this happen, and we'll see you guys whenever we see you again.
God bless Bo Nix.
We all silly like the mayor.